All while I was growing up. My dad took care of his watch like it was the most important thing in the world. I mean, he was obsessed with the thing. Sometimes he'd even wake up in the night because he was so anxious it would stop without him knowing. When me or my siblings asked our mom why Dad cared so much about a bit of metal on his wrist, she'd say it's because it was his father's watch, and his father's before his. It still seemed a little odd, but we were used to it. I'll never forget the bags under his eyes and the tired smile he'd give me before heading off to work, 5 to coffee of the day in hand. After not sleeping for days straight, all because he was afraid of his watch stopping. As we got older, my siblings and I chalked it up to some kind of OCD, or a need for control, since his dad died when he was young, and that was the only thing of his he still had. It was supposed to have been my brother's next, but a motorcycle crash in 1997 left him brain dead. Dad was devastated, but seemed to also be a little relieved that his son wouldn't have to go through any mental torment like he had all these years. Still, it had to go to someone, and that someone was me, his only remaining son and the eldest of his 3 remaining children. 6.5 months ago, my dad passed away peacefully, joining my brother and mom, who passed a year ago now. It was his dying wish that I take good care of that watch, so that's what I did, despite the fact it was practically meaningless to me. I loved it because it was his, and a family heirloom, but it was never worth all the sleepless nights and constant anxiety my dad experienced. I sort of hated the watch for that, but I hate it even more now. About a month or so after my father died, I was on my way to work and stuck in some pretty bad traffic. The silver lining was that the traffic was moving, but suddenly it came to a halt. I honked and yelled, but nobody even acknowledged me. They all just sat there, completely still, not budging. And if that wasn't bad enough, the watch had stopped. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure out there was a link. At first, I thought it was a blessing and wondered to myself why my dad had ever been so avoidant of this bliss. No work, no worries, not even any laws. I could simply do as I please until I decided to go back to regular life. Sure, there were some downsides. Mirrors didn't work. They were sort of like smudged, static eye windows, and there was no way for me to unfreeze anybody individually, so I had someone to hang out with. But you can't complain about having a literal superpower. Well, I'd soon find out it was nothing but a curse. I began to notice small changes in the world every time unfroze it. Sometimes my house would look a little different. Sometimes my coworkers' appearances changed, and sometimes there were major changes. For instance, people who had died before weren't dead anymore, like Brittany Murphy and Elvis Presley, or my kids were entirely different ages and genders and had different names. Nobody else knew these were changes, so I stopped bringing it up after being called crazy the first 16 times. But how was this even possible? I wasn't time traveling, so surely I wasn't altering the past. I was just pausing time, that's all. Stupidly, I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. I wasn't changing my timeline. I was going to a new one altogether. I'd left my real family behind long ago and transferred myself to an alternative world. Meanwhile, they were still living their lives with some part or version of me, with no idea their real Dean was gone. By the time I circled back around, it was too late. Suddenly, when I looked at myself, I was 50, the way I was supposed to be by now. I was back in my world, but I'd missed out on so much. To them, I'd been there the whole time, but I wasn't. Or maybe I was, in some kind of way. But I certainly don't remember any of it. I'd left my baby girl, Ivana, and little boy, Matthew, my third baby, Lisa, I wasn't even around for. But what about all those other realities I'd lived in? What about the me who'd been with them all along? Unless that was me, but my soul had moved. Who knows? Does it even matter now? You see, I made another stupid mistake. I broke the watch. I tried to rewind it somehow, but now it won't start. I know somebody will see this, because the internet continues to update, even when my reality is frozen for the rest of you. Time is still going by like normal. I don't know if I even want to go back at this point, since I don't know how long it's been since I stopped time last. What if 40 years have gone by? I'm not even sure if time goes by at the same rate in my frozen world and in yours. There is one thing I was wrong about, though. I'm not the only one unfrozen. I've certainly never paused time for this long before, and I'm starting to hear whispers and see figures wandering. They don't want me to see them. I don't know what it is they do want, but every time they are near, I feel like I am in danger. Like there is some impending doom. I have no idea if I'll come out, if this alive, or what happens if I die here. But if any of my family are reading this, I'm sorry I wasn't mentally there. Even if I physically was, I didn't know.